Okay, here's a hot take. The Batman Arkham series has really good music. Okay, but seriously though, the music in this series absolutely slaps, but the best part is how each game has a slightly different style of music that makes it unique and worth listening to when compared to the other soundtracks. But see, that's where I feel like this question really comes into play. I think every single game has a legitimate shot at having the best music in the series, and I'm gonna try to explain why. While I don't have the correct answer by any stretch of the imagination, I am going to rank all 4 games at the end of this video based on music, but I also want to hear your thoughts and personal ranking. I'll put a link to a poll in the description where you can see what everyone else thinks, and feel free to voice your reasoning in the comments of this video or even the poll. I appreciate you making it this far into the video, so let's just hop right into it and start making the case for each game. I feel like this game has the music that contributes the most to the atmosphere. The overall haunting tracks heavily influence the extremely unsettling tone. The general consensus is that Arkham Asylum has the best atmosphere, and the music has a huge contribution to this. From the low melody that can be heard when you open the main menu to the fast-paced drums playing during combat. One really cool touch I absolutely love is the music that plays when Batman takes Joker inside of intensive treatment. The instruments play a melody that resembles something that an organ might play, and it adds to the haunted feeling the whole asylum contains. But by far my favorite tracks have got to be the music played during Scarecrow's nightmare sections, and that includes the Joker swap and fake crash scenes as well. So I think it's pretty clear that while there aren't a whole lot of iconic themes that can be made out, the music in this game does a phenomenal job of perfecting the already claustrophobic atmosphere. I'm just gonna say it now. The main title of this game is the single greatest track in any superhero game ever. It's so iconic, so triumphant, and I could listen to it for hours. This is the definitive Arkham theme in my eyes. And hey, they even played this song in the latest trailer for the Arkham trilogy on Switch. I don't think any game has made me want to not press the X button as much as this game, but this is by far the most popular song in the entire series. Everyone loves this theme, and oh yeah, the rest of the game has some pretty solid tracks as well. The implementation of a choir for much of the music adds a nice touch that really distinguishes it from the rest of the series.
Bruce, you can hear me, can't you? You need to step into the light. Your father and I are waiting.
And the game can also be very subtle when it needs to be. If there's one word to describe the soundtrack, it's iconic, which, yes, I know I already said that before. Now, you might argue that this soundtrack is simply viewed as great by people because of the actual game itself, and I can see the logic behind that. A lot of great memories were made with this game, and that nostalgia probably carried over into remembering the music as a masterpiece, but I don't think that praise is unwarranted. I think both the game and music helped each other to be greater than what they could be on their own, and it's clear that no one is forgetting the soundtrack anytime soon. Christopher Drake might be my favorite non-Hollywood composer, and this game has a lot to do with that. Not only did he write one of the most exhilarating main themes to ever accompany a superhero game, not only did he create music that perfectly complemented the cinematic cutscenes that played during a fast-paced and phenomenal Batman story, but he also did so while making it match with the Christmas aesthetic. The Christmas theme in the score doesn't make the soundtrack, it's just the icing on top. The somber holiday sounds that can be heard while traversing the open world, combined with the Joker's theme that includes Carol of the Bells, how can you not feel the Christmas spirit? The best moments in this game hit hard because the score really adds to every one of those moments. Like I said before, the Christmas stuff just makes it better. And while the soundtrack does sound the most similar to any other action game or movie, I think the Christmas elements help make it more unique. Fantastic soundtrack. Also, Bane's theme is just perfect. I I feel like a lot of people don't think of this game as having the best music, but there's one thing it does better than any of the other games, and that's emotional moments. As the final game in the series, Knight has to show a lot of goodbyes and heartbreak, and the music does a great job of exploring these moments with some really deep musical themes. Tracks like Inner Demon and All Who Follow You really display what I'm talking about, so I'd recommend you listen to those. But overall, it's a solid soundtrack that attempts to explore music that none of the Arkham games really even try.
You were there at the beginning, and now you get to see how it ends.
It almost feels like the most mature soundtrack in the series, which is hard to explain as more of a feeling. But maybe that makes sense since it's the last game. But still, every track in this game fits the scenario really well. It's just those emotional moments are the highlights. Okay, now that we talked about each game, here's my ranking. Once again, I love to hear your ranking in the comments, and go check out the poll that's linked in the description. Number 4, Arkham Knight. While it has some really great moments, I don't think it does enough to really stick with players after a playthrough, and it's probably the most forgotten soundtrack in the series. That doesn't mean it's bad though, and I'm glad there are sounds and ideas in this game that I can't find anywhere else. Number 3, Arkham Asylum. The music totally adds to the atmosphere, but as the first game in the series, I feel like it didn't really get to explore much other than the stellar Scarecrow tracks. The music doesn't ever really have a chance to take center stage, and while on one hand that's a good thing, I feel like it could have been higher if it had more distinguishable themes and leitmotifs that were able to really shine. As it stands though, it's still a fantastic soundtrack. Number 2, Arkham Origins. Okay, the top 2 were so incredibly hard to rank, and my opinion might very well change in the future. Origins has a masterclass of a video game score, and the Christmas elements are a welcome addition. I think the reason it's not number 1 is complicated, and I'll explain a little bit more for the next game, but I feel like this soundtrack doesn't feel the most unique in the sense that, apart from the Christmas elements, it might be hard for people to tell where the music comes from. Once again, it's really hard to explain, and it's more of what the number 1 game gets right rather than what Origins does wrong. Just know that this is probably the game whose soundtrack I listen to the most. Number 1, Arkham City. While my head tells me that Origins has the best music, my gut says that City has the best music. The main title alone makes it top 2, but the entire soundtrack has so many iconic tracks to the point where I feel like most people could remember the Predator and combat sections just from listening to it for a few seconds. I think the biggest reason that this is number 1 is that it's so unique that people have linked this soundtrack to the entire Arkham series as a whole, and as such, it kinda makes it the definitive Arkham score. Though my opinion might change in a week, I'm gonna say that City is number 1. And if someone can change my mind or give me some reasoning as to why City's number 1 better than I can, please do so in the comments. It just sounds right to say that City has the best soundtrack, but once again, it's more of a gut feeling than anything else, which is strange since that's not normally how I rank things. So there's the ranking. I think that music perfectly reflects one of the best things about Arkham, which is that each game's soundtrack has something that appeals to everyone. None of the scores are copies of each other, and to see the themes evolve and change is really cool to see. Much like music, each game has something unique to itself that none of the other games can say that they have, which means that every game has people who say it's their favorite. You might love Asylum's haunting sound, or Knight's emotional moments, or City's triumphant theme, or even Origins' exhilarating tracks. But the best part is that they're all amazing games with amazing music, and I'll still be listening to them all years from now. Also, let me know if there are any other scores you want me to talk about. I have a lot to say as someone who loves music. Specifically, I think I can make the case for why Marvel's Spider-Man has my favorite Spider-Man theme, and if you want to see that, let me know. Also, if you want to hear an amazing superhero video game track, please check out Gardeners of the Galaxy from the Guardians of the Galaxy game. I just beat the game for the first time, and that track is simply phenomenal. I love it so much. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.